I'm Radmar, and today I'll be reading about Saint Aloysius Gonzaga from Stories of the Saints by Carrie Wallace and pictures by Nick Thornborough. The noble Gonzaga family could find a reason to hate just about anybody, and just about anybody could find a reason to hate them. Two of the sons in the family had been murdered in vendettas or revenge killings, and somebody even tried to assassinate their mother, who was the lady-in-waiting to Isabel, the wife of the King of Spain. Aloysius was the oldest child of the Gonzagas, which meant one day he'd leave the family and inherit his father's wealth. So his father was determined that Aloysius become a great fighter himself. When Aloysius was only 4 years old, his father gave him a set of miniature guns and started to take him along on military training exercises. The next year, his father sent him to a military camp where he loved to watch Aloysius march around at the head of a band of other small soldiers. And even though Aloysius was only 5, he managed to set a cannon off all by himself with no orders from anyone. When Aloysius was 8, his father sent him off to get an education at the court of the Medici, the richest and most famous family in Italy. The Medici loved art and music, and some of the most beautiful things in the world filled their homes. But their court was full of silly people who talked about nothing all day long, and violent people who plotted against each other. While Aloysius was there, he got very sick. As he recovered, he began to read books about the saints and to pray. And he began to realize something. He didn't want to grow up to lead his family with its violent ways. He wanted to follow God. His mother was delighted when Aloysius announced that he wanted to become a priest. But his father didn't want his oldest son to give up his inheritance. So he tried everything he could to change Aloysius' mind. He threatened to thrash him. He sent him all over Europe on missions for the empress. He tried to get Aloysius interested in the pleasures of the court. But Aloysius didn't change his mind. When he turned 18, he gave all his rights to inherit his family's wealth to his little brother and went off to Rome to become a Jesuit. When Aloysius joined the Jesuits, he told them about all the penances he had been doing all on his own to show God he was sorry for his sins. But the Jesuits told him not to be so strict with himself. You need to spend more time enjoying life, they said, and other people. I am a twisted piece of iron, Aloysius answered. I came here to get twisted straight. The Jesuits gave Aloysius a job at a hospital in Rome. He had been sick as a child, and his own health still wasn't good. Now he had to care for people who had weeping sores and wash stinking sheets and bloody bandages. Sometimes the smell and the sight of it made him sick to his stomach. But it had taken a strong will to stand up to his father, and Aloysius used that same strength to care for the sick and the hurt, no matter how it made him feel. A few years after Aloysius joined the Jesuits, the angel Gabriel appeared to him in a vision. You are going to die within a year, the angel said. A few months later, a plague broke out in Rome. The Jesuits opened a hospital to care for the sick, and Aloysius volunteered to work there. He carried dying people in from the streets. He washed them, prayed with them, and brought them food. And he discovered something. Caring for the sick didn't make him feel sick anymore. Instead, his heart was full of love. But the monks who worked at the hospital kept getting the plague themselves. So many of them died that their leaders forbade any Jesuits to work with the sick. Aloysius didn't take no for an answer when his father forbade him to become a priest. And he didn't take no for an answer when the Jesuits forbade him to serve the sick. He kept pestering his leaders for permission until they gave in and let him return to the hospital. Just before his 23rd birthday, Aloysius nursed a man with a plague. A few days later, he fell ill himself. At first, it looked as if he might recover. One morning, he was in such good health that his abbot even talked about sending him on a trip. Aloysius knew better. "I'm going to die today," he said. "Please arrange for my last rites tonight." That night, when 2 of his fellow monks came to bring him communion, Aloysius was staring at the image of Jesus on the cross near his bed. "Into your hands, into your hands," he said. He took communion, then tried to say the name of Jesus one last time. And just before midnight, he died. Thanks for listening. God bless you.